Hey, today I'm making an update on a video that I shot and released on February 26th about the war between Russia and Ukraine. A lot's happened since that video, and a lot of it happened because of exactly what I said would happen in that video. And that's that alliances can cause wars to get bigger. So the Nato alliance and USA's alliances with other countries have caused this war to have more serious potential to escalate than ever before. I'm going to go into two scenarios that I think are going to play out. I may be wrong, but I'm listening to the talking heads on the news and I don't think that they see it the way I do. The news that you see on the cable channels is mostly pro-Ukrainian and anti-Russian. Well, I'm not either. I'm pro-realism in what can happen. And I think what can happen could be pretty serious. Here are the two scenarios that I think are the way this thing is going to play out. In scenario one, Putin feels cornered. He also feels like the West is helping Ukraine and that he's really at war with all of us, with NATO, with the NATO supporting countries, and with the United States. So he decides to use a tactical nuke as a demonstration of his power. Of course, he believes at that point that Biden's administration will crumble like a house of cards. And he's probably right. Those guys haven't shown any fortitude so far when it comes to the world situation and with standing up to bullies. The Biden administration has probably given us the worst foreign policy that we've had in years. The worst outcome would be that Putin makes his demonstration and the US decides to retaliate, or NATO decides to retaliate. In that case, you're going to see World War III, a nuclear exchange. No one wins in a nuclear exchange. Everybody loses. When you retaliate, you're usually retaliating from a pile of rubble, and that was your country. And don't think that for some reason Russia wouldn't hit our homeland. Of course they would. They'd nuke us in a heartbeat if they thought it was going to serve their interests in taking over the countries that they want to occupy in Western Europe. The problem with scenario one, the US wouldn't retaliate and Russia would take over Ukraine after their demonstration of their nuclear power with their tactical nuke. The USA and NATO backs down. That would be pretty much the end of this conflict. Okay, let's look at the second scenario. In the second scenario, negotiations prove successful. Ukraine and Russia decide to stop hostilities and back off. Well, Russia will take the land that they want, and Ukraine will be left with a country that's basically rubble now, and with half their population out as refugees in other countries, and no place to come home to. The West, of course, would be left with the cost of helping Ukraine rebuild, because there's nothing there for them to support themselves with. And there's no home for people to come to. So, what are we going to do? We're going to absorb the refugees and we're going to help Ukraine rebuild. And that's going to be a really costly thing for the West. Of course, this doesn't stop Russia. It emboldens Russia. So from that point on, you're going to have problems with Russia on all their bordering states. These little Western countries are going to be at risk from a Russian invasion from now on. So is there an answer? Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that it's just going to have to play out like it does. This is a problem that's festering now and it's probably going to be festering for the next 20, 30, 40 years. Who knows? I don't see an end to it. I think that thinking that it's going to be over soon is a pipe dream unless the government of Russia changes its direction. I also think it could get worse really fast if Russia feels cornered and the NATO alliances stick together to defend NATO and the USA. Well, bottom line, should you be afraid? Well, damn right you should. It's good sense to be afraid. Our government and our politicians and Russia's politicians have pushed us all to the brink of a nuclear war. And that's a foolish thing, of course. But leave it to politicians to do foolish things. They generally do. Our side's now warmongering, talking about no-fly zones and about sending equipment to Ukraine and such as that. And bottom line, Russia's going to see that as aggression by the USA and by NATO. So things are going to escalate. I don't see an easy way out here. That's my update. A lot of people are going to disagree with my opinion, and that's their right. If you watch my first video, you'll see that a lot of things I said in there are playing out. So don't think just because I'm the old codger in Saigon that I don't keep track of things. I do. And I have a pretty good insight into what's going on here. At any rate, I don't think that the future looks good in any scenario that involves Russia and Ukraine and NATO and the United States. What about China? If the US and Russia, and of course NATO, involve themselves in a major nuclear war, I think China will sit it out. If they sit it out, they'll think that they're going to be the remaining superpower in the world. And they think that nuclear wars can be won. Of course they can't. If we have capitulation and Russia and Ukraine come to some sort of agreement, China's going to see that as weakness and Taiwan's going to get invaded. I think that goes without saying. They'll see weakness on the part of NATO and the US as a surrender. They don't think we have the fortitude or the vision to protect Taiwan. I know Taiwan would put up a heck of a fight, but bottom line, I don't think that the situation in Taiwan would be the same as the situation in Ukraine. China has overwhelming forces and air power, and Taiwan is pretty vulnerable since they're an island. So, alliances make wars bigger, and wars can make wars bigger. If China chooses to involve itself in this thing, gosh knows what could happen. I really haven't explored that possibility. My idea is that they will sit it out. Anyway, that's about all I have for my update today. I really wish I didn't have to make this video, but I just felt compelled to do it. This is JR, the Texpat in Saigon, saying thanks for watching. Hope you'll stay with us. We are leaving Saigon for another country, and we'll be making videos there. Hey, I want to thank everybody for staying with us all these years.